Oh, g'day everyone, and welcome to this week's edition of the Weekend Wrap, brought to you by Crowcast, of course. Another big show coming up with another good win against the Kangaroos this afternoon. So without any further ado, let's crack straight in, shall we? Work, but whatever. I'll put the theme music in later. How you going, guys? Macca? Oh, it's all happening. I've got you on mute. Try again, Mac. Go on.
Okay.
How are you?
Yeah, no, I'm good, mate. Very pleased with today's win, and life is good.
Very good. And big man, how you going?
Good, thanks, fan. Well-oiled machine as always, mate.
Oh, look, it wouldn't be the same if we were a well-oiled machine, I tell you. It's always, I went to the game this afternoon, and it's always hard if I go to a Sunday afternoon game, running around like a crazy man. And then, of course, I've got to give a shout out to my eldest son, because he plays for Coromandel Valley Cricket Club. And it's their first year this year in Section 1 hard wicket. And he's the pres and he's the opening bowler and all that sort of stuff. And last week, to get him into the grand final, he bowled 27 overs or something, took 4 for. But he's had trouble with his toe all year and it got infected. And he was on an IV drip for 3 days last week and didn't think that he'd play. And then he didn't tell me he was going to play, but... come yesterday morning, he thought, oh, I think it's going to be all right. So he went out and played, and they won. He took 7 for. So
buddy. Well done.
Yeah, so he's a little legend at the moment, or a big legend actually, the big bugger. But as a consequence, I've got the grandson here because there's a little bit of celebrations to be done.
Well, of course. But
I saw him just earlier. Pardon?
Good weekend of cricket results then.
Yes, well, of course, Saka's got up as well, so it's a fantastic weekend. But it's Coromandel Valley's first year in Section 1. They beat their arch rivals, the crosstown rivals, Coromandel Ramblers. A fairly comfortable rivalry there, so... and the big fella took 7 for, so we're all happy here. Anyway.
Good stuff.
Enough about that. And, of course, Jeffrey, Mr. Brown, is currently on annual leave. I bet you guys didn't realise you're entitled to annual leave. But he's taken annual leave. He's over in Thailand at the moment. And, of course, they flew out on Thursday and went to spend a night in Singapore. And then flew into Bangkok or Chiang Mai actually on Friday. And of course, they were in the air when the earthquake happened.
Of course.
Wednesday and Thursday. Wow. Yeah, so I don't know when it was, Thursday maybe. But yeah, he literally landed about an hour after the earthquake hit. So, and they felt it pretty hard in Chiang Mai apparently.
Oh boy.
So he's over there for a Sixers tournament, which is... a little about cricket and a lot about drinking.
Yeah, that's probably a very good summary.
That's what you want.
So he was going to see if he could dial in, but they're actually playing right at the moment. And unfortunately, there's no live stream this year. There was a live stream last year. Otherwise, I would have had it on in the corner or something. But no, none of that. So never mind. So all that's left to do, gentlemen, is talk about our game against North Melbourne. So why don't we do that?
Sounds like a good idea.
Sounds like a good idea. And I'll be very interested to hear what you guys think about the game, because it's the first match I've gone to see this year. And,
you went?
Yeah, I went. I took Brownie's tickets. I took my youngest son to see 17-12-114 Adelaide. Let me just amend that. No, I can't amend it. Bad luck. 17-12, 114 to 12-6, 78. A margin of 36 points in favour of the Crows. Gentlemen, before we get into anything deep and meaningful, Macca, what do you think of the game?
Well, it was a good contest. There's no doubt about the North Melbourne have improved vastly. Actually, they've brought in a couple of experienced players, and of course their draftees of yesteryears in the last 2 or 3 years, they've got a bit more experience underneath their belt. And I thought they were very, very competitive indeed. And I think really the fact that we've got so many avenues to goal was the main difference between the two sides. That when they went forward, they didn't have as many avenues. When we went forward, we had quite a multitude of options. Look, I was pleased with the win. I don't think we played anywhere near as well as we played in the last couple of games because we had a couple of players, I think, down. But yeah, overall, look, you've got to be happy with the win. And not related to the player, I have to say it, that umpiring today was the worst I've seen for many a long day.
My goodness. I won't jump in just yet. Go ahead, big man.
The crowd wasn't happy with them. They were very unhappy with them.
I was part of that crowd.
I think Mac has summed it up pretty well. I was pretty happy with it, to be honest, because I knew that North weren't going to be pushovers, even though they have been in the past at Adelaide, particularly. They've improved a lot, as Mac has said. They've got some experience in that team now, and some of their draft picks are starting to flourish. So they challenged us at times. It was a bit of an ugly win, let's be honest, but an ugly win, still 4 points, and we still kicked over 100, well over 100. So it was only a couple of years ago we were struggling to kick over 80 points a game. So if we can take an ugly win where we kick nearly 120 points, I'll take it every week.
The umpiring was some of the worst umpiring I've seen for quite some time. Did you go to the
can't
game,
leave it,
man?
Well, it frustrated me so much, particularly in that first half. Obviously, it evened up a bit in that second half. We probably got a better ride in the second half than they did, but that some of the non-giving of the holding the ball really frustrated me because I thought for as much as I think we made some skill errors today and some decision-making errors, I thought our tackling was really solid for most of the game, and we laid some great tackles, and there was one with Dawson in the middle of the ground. There was obviously that curtain tackle near their goals where Scholl got caught about 5 seconds later, and he got pinged, of course, where I'm just like, why are they not paying these, clearly holding the ball? And then there was some funny things there was one or two out of the bounds that were clearly out of bounds, but they were giving marks anyway. There's the goal umpire not seeing the Fogarty poster that everyone else at the stadium saw.
Oh, that was ridiculous.
So it wasn't great. But I think we won the free kick count in the end. But it's not really about that. It's usually about the ones that aren't paid or the ones that are paid in front of goal. And I felt like we got a bit of the short stick today. But look, if you ask North Melbourne supporters, they'd probably say the exact same thing for them. So here's what it is.
Well, as far as umpire number 4, they couldn't argue that they got the wrong end of his stick because his stick was pointing directly at them the whole time. The stuff that he missed and the stuff that he paid going the other way, I swear to God, it wasn't an aberration. It was a trend, I tell you.
And you did. You did identify the right one there, Payne. He was the man. He was shocking.
He was shocking.
Also, they don't seem to know what's 15 and what's not, because I couldn't tell you, because they're the same kicks, so they're called
they're
differently.
Not doing it anymore. They're not doing it
because
anymore.
And I noticed it today a lot because North were very chippy, particularly in their back 50, and just a lot of times I was like, that's not 15, and they'd call the mark, and I also noticed they gave them a lot of time to kick the ball every time they took marks.
Yep.
It felt like it really slowed the game down. So I'm surprised they did that because everything felt a bit sluggish at times when North had the ball. So anyway, we move on.
Yeah. Look, I thought we were very scrappy. We didn't... So what I noticed, having done the analysis during the week and the preview and all the rest of it, I knew that North were going to be the first team that would challenge us in terms of our overlap chip run game. That's exactly what they did. Clarkson compressed the ground really heavily. Most of the game was the over was in quadrants, and most of the players were in whatever quadrant the ball was in. But he was also on our outlets. He was guarding the space where we would normally run into. So we have a habit of keeping the line clear, and he would have one of his guys in there, and we didn't cope very well with that strategy, because it's the first time this season we've been forced to actually switch a bit and change lanes, and we weren't comfortable doing it. And not only that, we weren't running hard to provide options on the switch. A couple of times we'd switch the ball and we'd get to half back and there'd be no options whatsoever, and we'd end up turning the ball over. So
especially in that third term, there was a few. I remember when Curtin got the ball at the half back line, and he took about 3 bounces, and he had all the time. We still couldn't get numbers to the contest ahead of the ball. So then that happened again about 5 minutes later as well. It might have been a kick from Tex or someone. So I mean, I think some of the boys were gassed. If you look at the data in terms of the distance covered and everything, some of the boys clocked up serious kilometres today, and I think it got to them at times. But you make a good point there, Finn.
Well, the thing is, they haven't been watching the tapes, because it was obvious to little old me sitting in my little dark corner of the universe that that's what Clarkson was going to do, and that's exactly what they did. North Melbourne are a workman team. They scrap, and they remind me of Richmond back in the day, the way they play and move the ball. It's all running ahead of the ball. It's all rolling forward of the contest and all that sort of stuff, and he clogs up space. He denies space, and he forces you to go around, and we should have been prepared for that, and it didn't look to me as if we were. We didn't really have a counter to it, and a better team employing those tactics will trouble us, because really the only thing that saved us was North's inefficiency. And the fact that they didn't use the ball effectively. They turned it over a bit. And as you said, Macca, we had more avenues to goal than they did in the end. But not well coached today, in my view. Not well coached at all, to be frank. And the players themselves didn't look terrible. Sorry, just to finish off. The players, they kind of looked switched on, but not. They were good at the contest, but there was some absolute brain fades at times. And Tex, for all the good work that Tex did, he dropped some absolute sitter marks. And he wasn't Robinson Caruso either. There was a few terrible ball handling errors. So I don't know. Wasn't all plain sailing. Sorry, big man. What were you going to say?
No, that was my bad for interrupting. So I was just going to ask. So you were at the game. Obviously, I think we ended up winning clearances and contested possessions. I'm not too concerned about that. But did you notice some of the centre square work that we always seem to leave a loose man on the sweeping side of the ball of the centre bounce for North, and they just, particularly in that I want to say third quarter, they just were running it out of there because we constantly hit it forward, and they had 2 guys to our 1 on the defensive side of the ball, and they would just handle it with LDU. And
that's exactly
right. That?
They weren't covering the defensive side at all, and the way the ruck bounces were going, the angle of the taps was always going to go into the spot that you're talking about, and this is where I worry about our coaching, because it's not as if we've got no exposed form, right? We know what happens. I didn't think O'Brien actually did too bad a job. Cherry got a bit of a knock. Cherry got a bit of a knock, and whether that slowed him down a little bit during the course of the game, I'm not quite sure, but I thought Rob did it right. But our setups at centre were just inappropriate. They were almost arrogant the way they were setting up, and we got burnt continually. I think we got done in the clearances. We'll have a look shortly at the stats, but we got done in the centre clearances. Did it right around stoppage, but centre clearances we got done, and I think it really probably only evened up in the last quarter when we finally got on top and they ran out of gas, I think.
I will say
I wasn't overly impressed, Mac.
Yeah, look, you're right, and because at times we just didn't have that real intensity that we had when we were on, and when players looked rather relaxed a couple of times about what they were going to do, and by doing that, instead of being totally switched on and looking for the options, sometimes I got to the stage where there wasn't an option because they just weren't too quick enough. I just want to say about O'Brien, in defence of O'Brien, I thought he did as good a job on Zeri as anybody's done in recent weeks because Zeri is a very, very hard man to play against because he's a monster of a guy. He's very physical and he also follows up the ball himself. So, and I would say that while Rob didn't start, just the way with his effort and he partly neutralised Zeri. Like in Dream Team points, Zeri got, I think it was 77, where he normally gets some 100 and something, which is a reflection of the keeping him relatively quiet. Now you could well argue that the league came into it, but that doesn't really come into that at the point of going for the ball. It would around the ground, but not so much going for the ball. I think, as you said quite correctly, Flynn, we didn't quite set up correctly for that ball that gets hit down and towards our offence and their defence, which was really hitting it straight to them. And that's what did happen several times.
Yeah, Tivor in the chat makes a good call too. There was 5 or 6 bad bounces that they just didn't call back. They all seemed to favour bloody North Melbourne as well. It was just ridiculous. It was so inconsistent. But look. Anyway, look, I feel like a better team employing those tactics, as I said, would have really given us a bit of a touch-up today. I didn't feel like we were at 100%. But a win's a win's a win. And we did enough. And look, we did some very good stuff as well. Don't get me wrong, it wasn't all doom and gloom. But we, I think it was the first passage of play in the first quarter where I think the ball came down and we just muffed a very easy scoring opportunity through poor ball handling and that. And I thought, oh, here we go. We're just not quite on the money here. And that's kind of the way the game played out. Anyway. Let's quickly have a look at some of the AFL stats. Disposals, 354 to 364 their way. Kicks 217 to 220. Handballs 137 to 144. They were more efficient with disposal, 77 to 72. We had 8 more inside 50s. We were more efficient going inside 50. Pardon me, as you would expect with our personnel. We took 12 to 9 marks inside 50. Centre clearances, we ended up losing 12 to 16. Stoppages, we won 31 to 24. Rob won the hitouts 44 to 35. I don't reckon I saw Thilthorpe in the ruck for more than about 1 centre bounce, if I remember rightly. O'Brien pretty much did it all.
Yep.
Contested posies, we won 138 to 127. I thought our intensity around the contest was pretty good. Uncontested possessions, 216 to 229, 95 to 100 marks. First time we've been outnumbered in marks for a while. 66 to 70 turnovers, 13 to 47 tackles. That's not right. Someone just got lost interest in proceedings before finishing typing that.
I'm pretty sure we won tackles, yeah? I think we did.
I think we did, yeah, from memory. Look, so stats themselves really fairly even, and they don't really tell a story. The story, in my opinion, was just efficiency, and in the end, we made more of our chances and probably made a few more chances. But I tell you what, it could have gone either way halfway through the third quarter.
Yeah, I mean, we got like 4 or 5 genuine scoring options in the forward line, other than obviously Rochelle got injured early in the first quarter, but they were pretty much the Nick Larkey show with a bit of Paul Curtis and Constanti. So if they didn't have Larkey in that, they would have been in real trouble kicking a score because a lot goes through him. And you're right. That's, again, our strength comes to the fore there because we just have so many options going forward. And they all had funny days. I don't think Fogg played particularly well, but obviously Thilthorpe's second half was excellent. And Tex managed to kick four goals. It wasn't the best 4-goal game you ever see.
It's the strangest 4-goal game I've ever seen. I mean, some of the stuff he did was brilliant. And some of the other stuff he did was ridiculous. Like he dropped a couple of absolute sitters.
When he sold the candy and he just left the ball behind. And...
God.
Oh, that was pathetic, wasn't it?
But that's what Tex does. Though. I mean, it is what it is.
We can laugh about it now, but at the time, God.
Let's carry on with that situation about, we had the 3-pronged attack. I got to say, hats off to Curtin. He really gave us a 4-pronged attack today. I thought that he worked very, very hard in the forward lines. And I'd call that basically a breakout game for him. I know last week I thought he had a partial breakout game, but I thought this week I thought it was a very good effort because he gave us another option, and he was playing up high, and I thought he worked pretty hard. He won some nice balls, and one thing if he's going to have a shot for goal, he's every chance of kicking it. He's got
hasn't missed one yet. Hasn't missed one yet.
No, I think
6 straight.
There was in some areas, not necessarily here, but I did read some criticism of playing Curtin because he wasn't getting a lot of touches in the first 1 and 2 games. But I thought he got a little bit more last week, but this week I thought he got another step further. So, yeah, I think he's going to be very, very good. That's just my opinion.
Just nicely building, big man, don't you reckon?
Yeah, and I mean, it's amazing what a bit of opportunity and confidence does, and a good pre-season. And he's been very unselfish too with ball in hand. There's a few times where I thought, he could go for goal here, or he could try something special, but he always looks to centre it. A couple of times today, he probably stuffed it up trying to be too much of a team player, but he's a very team orientated player, and he had won a really important ball deep in defence as well. It was a tricky one, so he obviously covers a lot of ground playing that high half forward / wing role. If we were to say rest Tex next week for the Gold Coast game, which probably won't happen, but if it does, he's not obviously got 250 plus games under his belt like Tex does, but I think he'll acquit himself well because he's building nicely. He's still showing glimpses rather than dominating games, but he's 20-year-old and built like he is. That's all you can really expect at this stage still, I reckon. And how was that rundown chase? Like, geez, he's quicker than a straight line too. So, he's pretty exciting. I think it's nice to see some of these high picks we've got over the last 5 years actually really starting to show. Obviously, Thorpe, Rochelle, Draper was good again today, and Curtin. So it looks like Hamish has nailed a few of the those so important early picks in the draft which we've had. Yeah,
100%. Look, Mac, the way we play our forwards is pretty good at the moment, actually, because they get up the ground a fair bit. You'll often find that we'll have two of them up, Thorpe and Tex in particular. Fogg tends to not go much past half forward, but you'll often find the other two up around the wing. And Curtin sort of plays up and back between wing and deep forward. So it's a pretty good setup at the moment. But Clarkson, as he is wont to do, he made it very difficult in our forward line. He clogged it up as much as he could. As I said, he compressed the ground really heavily, more so than St Kilda did previously. So it was Ross Lyon times 2. They just love to get the ball and run North Melbourne when they get it clear. That's all they do. They hustle and bustle it until they break through the congestion, and then it's all systems go towards the forward line. I don't know, maybe they were watching different tapes to me, I'm not sure, but it seemed bloody obvious to me. Anyway, let's have a look at some individuals, and of course before we do that, before we look at some individuals, don't forget, if you're on Discord, you can put your hand up and we would love you to come on board. If you're watching on YouTube and you haven't already and you like what you see, like and subscribe, that would be wonderful. And we have Arab waiting in the wings. Come on, Arab, I've invited you, I think. I don't know what's going on there. It won't invite you for some reason. I'm trying, mate. Don't worry about that. Don't know why it won't invite you. All right, but anyway, maybe log out and log back in, mate. But yeah, anyone who wants to come on and have a say, please do so. You're more than welcome. And in the meantime, we will have a look at some individuals. Now, Isaac Rankin had a pretty good game today. 30 touches, 5 marks, 5 tackles, 8 clearances, 4 inside 50s and 541 metres gained. It was good to see him have a full game in the mids, and I thought he was probably on balance. Him and Jakey Soligo probably our best 2 mids, big man.
Yeah, I think that's a pretty good summation of it. I think Crouchy had probably the worst game I've seen him play in a fair while too. So he wasn't on his game today. He just couldn't get involved. Peatling didn't actually play much in the midfield. I think he only had about 5 CBAs, and Dawson had that calf. No, I can talk about it later, but he had a good game. Just didn't play much midfield, and Dawson had his calf strapped and just looked a bit off. Without, obviously, he still had a pretty good game. So I think for Jake to step up, and obviously Rankin, we know what he can do. They both had great starts to the year, and I just thought, in terms of Jake, he won some really important contests when we needed him to, when things were going a bit against us, particularly in the centre. And Isaac, it would love him to kick a goal because it'd make that stat line look even better. But 30 touches, 2/3 of them were contested, so he's doing it on the inside. Obviously, on the outside, his ball use. Like there was one kick he did along the wing, running towards half forward, where he sort of his body weight was going to the left, but then he checks it on his outside of his boot to the right. And to Thilthorpe, who kicked a beauty to Sid straight away as well after that. Like that stuff you can't teach, and he's a special player. So I think he obviously got that rest against Essendon, and he came to play today, and we needed him to. So no, he's he's pretty special.
The only thing that I'll say, big man, and Macca, I'll be interested in your thought on this one. He can ball watch a little bit at centre bounces. If the ball doesn't come to his side of the contest, he can tend to lose his man a little bit, and he did lose his man a couple of times. It was his man that was coming through on occasions there. He does stop and watch rather than, like, he hasn't got, and you wouldn't probably expect him to, he hasn't got much of a defensive side in those circumstances, and his opponent can get separation, Mac.
Yeah, look, I think it's a very fair comment. He loves attack, and I think that every centre bounce, or every time he's near a ball, he's always thinking, "I'll get it," because in a centre bounce, the way they bounce the ball away, sometimes it can go anywhere. So, and if he's on one side, the other, and his opponent's on the other side, well, yeah, then I think you're quite right. Having said that, he is very damaging once he does get hold of the ball, and I thought that as you're both saying, really a toss up between him and Soligo, who was the better of the 2 mids. What I love about Soligo is this guy's, he's come from he started off, he had to earn a place in the side, and he just got better and better. He's just got better and better every season. And this year's Soligo is a better version of last year's Soligo. And I still don't think he's reached his limit yet. I think he's going to end up being one of the AFL's best midfielders, because he's got speed, he's got courage, and he's got good disposal. And I probably would give it to Soligo for the very reason you were just saying before, about Soligo worked very hard defensively as well. So he's probably my best player, and but ranking a little bit behind him, but still a very good game.
The thing about those two
28
is that
touches. Sorry, big man. Just quickly, I'll run through Solly's stats. 28 touches, 5 marks, 5 tackles, 6 clearances, 9 inside 50s, and 500 odd metres gained. Big man, as you're probably going to say, probably his best game, I reckon, for us.
Oh, he's had a few. That showdown last year was pretty good.
I don't know. Against a good quality midfield.
Honestly, he's played well. Yeah, he's played well to start the year. All 3 games he's been, along with Dawson, our most consistent mid. One thing about those two, it's funny how you highlight those two, is that they're both so good at lowering their eyes, particularly going inside 50. And they hit those little 15-metre kicks under pressure the leading forwards. We saw it again with that beautiful kick Saligo did to Neil Bullen in the first quarter, where a lot of players just can't do that. Their brain doesn't work that way. They both have amazing vision upfield, and they're both two players that you love to see get the ball in the corridor as well. Particularly Rankin, he rarely makes a mistake through the corridor, and they're both so important to our ball movement because they're both obviously highly skilled and they make good decisions, which it hasn't been something we've had much in the midfield in the past. So Jake was a pick 36 to get a potentially A grade midfield with that sort of pick in the draft is absolute gold because it doesn't usually happen.
Yeah. Well, I remember talking to Hamish about it in his draft year, and Hamish could not wait to talk to me about Jake Saligo. The fact that we got him in the 30s or whatever it was is ridiculous. And
I think he picked 41, wasn't he?
No,
36.
It's in the 30s.
36.
Yeah.
Okay.
But just amazing. So he had a good game. The other person I thought that I'd highlight, considering it was his 250th, and he played pretty well, I thought. 32 touches, Rory Laird. 7 marks, 7 clearances, 10 score involvements, 14 contested possessions. He's settled in, I think, down back. I thought he was pretty good, and we must congratulate him on his 250th.
Look, I thought he was easily the best of the defenders, or maybe Hinge, but look, I thought we knocked Lairdy a bit, and we often criticise him for his disposal. I thought that was better today as well. I thought he played a great game, a really great game on the halfback flank, and he's been an All-Australian there in that position before. And look, if he played like that every week, we'd love him, and we wouldn't criticise him. So I just hope he goes on with it. I thought he played a great game.
Yeah, big man.
So I was wondering if I should chime in or not. So I mean, credit to Laird. I actually thought he was close to BOG today, which is fitting for his 250th, and he was clean as a whistle. I thought his position was great. He got a lot of intercepts, and like Mac has said, his disposal was actually on point today. Even some of his kicking was pretty good, apart from one short kick that he stuffed up through the corridor. Look, if we could get that most weeks, I think he'd be that'd hold him in really good stead for a great year. And look, credit to Rory too, because I know his body language last year wasn't great at times. I thought when he was in the midfield, I thought sometimes he looked a bit selfish. His chasing and tackling wasn't as good as it had been previously. So for him to obviously be shunted out of there and have to play back where he used to be, that would have been hurt his pride a little bit, but I think his application to that switch has actually been really good, and he's looking a better player for it, and obviously we look like a better team for it because obviously we just don't need him in the midfield anymore.
I heard Matthew Nicks make an interesting comment at his presser during the week. He said that Lairdy was starting to come to terms with the leadership side of his role. He is very much a professional, and he cares very much about his own preparation and all the rest of it. He's never been one to be in a leadership group. That's not his kind of thing. But obviously, given the age profile of our squad and the age profile of our back six, we need him to step up and lead in that back half. And I think probably some of the attitude change that you might have noticed, big man, is as a consequence of him embracing or starting to embrace the leadership side of his role. And it's very important. There's no point having a senior player down back if he's just going to be all about him. And it's very important that he, provides guidance and assistance to younger players. So I think that's what we're starting to see, and it's sort of starting to ease back into his All-Australian halfback form, to be honest.
Well said. And he's look, I don't claim to know Rory really closely, but from the things I hear and obviously you can see a bit as well, he's a bit of a individualist. He keeps himself a bit. He's not a socialite, or he's not a guy that is the extrovert of the group, and that's probably been a bit of the reason why he doesn't do a lot of the leadership stuff. But the important thing for Laird is just to play his role, and we know that he can find the ball, but as I said before, I think that it's just his mindset looks in a healthier spot, and his football has been pretty good to start the year. You know, he's probably like the one defender we have that has that real ability to accumulate. You know, we don't really have many guys in defence who's going to get 30 plus touches a week. He's one that can do that, and he's also very clean on ground level, which is pretty important to have as in defence as well. So. Like he's not the complete package, we know that, but he's a dual Australian, or at least one time. He's a 3-time BNF, so he's been a pretty good player for a while now. And as much as I'd love to get someone in the team off halfback who provides a bit more run and obviously is a better user by foot, I think Laird, for what we already have at the moment, Laird is doing a pretty good job, and he's going to be pretty important if we're going to go anywhere this year.
Yeah, look, Inquisitor on the chat makes a very good point that, you know, he's almost like our inside mid of the defence. He's very good at ground level. He mops up consistently, and he's a hard unit when it comes to contested balls. So, you know, that's his role, and good on him for reaching 250 games from the rookie list. That's an amazing achievement, and not many, if any, would have done that before.
And look, I'm glad that he has adjusted to it, because when he first went back there, he did look like he almost resented being back there.
Yeah.
But today he didn't play anything like that. He just played his role as a halfback flanker, and in the manner that he did when he was an All-Australian, you know, and it was very well described in the chat by whoever did that post, the Inquisitor, I think it was, and that you know, he just mopped. It was like a midfielder, just mopping up the loose balls in the back line. Yeah. Which that means, you know, his midfield knowledge just comes into good affected the back line like that. So
Arab, I reckon the reason I can't invite you to the screen is because you're set to away. Your status on Discord is set to away. So check your status, and then I should be able to get you on. I can see a little dash mark on your avatar there, which is the away signal. So that's why I can't get you on. All right. Of course, if anyone else wants to come on and have a chat, feel free to do so. Otherwise, what do we do next? So just to finish up, I guess. Mac,
I was going to ask. Yeah.
No, well, Mac, I made a comment at the outset about I was worried about the way we were coached today. I'd like your thoughts on that.
I think, well, there were a couple of North players that I would have actually done a bit of tagging on, quite frankly, which Simpkins seemed to be just like an unregistered dog running around everywhere. And I would have put somebody on him just to do the go slow on him, because I think he was one of the great drivers into going into the forward lines for them. I thought he was very good. Yeah, look, I wouldn't say we were coached badly, but I think there were opportunities we missed that we could have improved ourselves on. That was one of them, for a start. From a selection point of view, I'm still not sold on Miller. I'm really not. I think he only had the 9 possessions today. I think it was something like that. And you got Luke Nankervis burning away in the bees. So that's something that.
Well, it's worth a thought now, isn't it? I mean, I thought Miller might have been coming back to some kind of form after last week, but he wasn't all that impressive today. Turned it over a couple of times, wasn't aggressive with his disposal. So it's Macca, it's worth a thought. Thought. He's had 3 games now.
Yeah, and I don't think he's been startling in any of them. And whereas, apparently Luke Nankervis was really, really burnt in that sample. And I think Big Man, you saw that, didn't you?
Yeah, he was fantastic. So he had 28 touches and 2 goals, and there was times where he just seemed like he was everywhere. He was showing a bit of arrogance with his ability just to take on Westie's opponents and dance around them. And I don't think he made too many mistakes. So look, he's been ready to go the whole pre-season, to be honest. He had a couple of injuries in December, but apart from that, he's been flying, and he obviously had a great couple of great pre-season games, and for whatever reason they wanted to go with Miller. And look, Wayne was good last week, no doubt about it, like you said, Fiend. But that's probably 2 out of 3 pretty quiet games from Wayne. And I just like he looked a bit off from the start. He had obviously that handball turnover in the first middle too, and there was just a couple of times he got caught or he just made the wrong decision at the wrong time. And it's a harsh game, AFL, obviously. But look, even if it means he has to be relegated to the sub role, I think that I'd rather. Obviously, I'm not the only one who thinks Nate should be in the team. But at this stage, I think you got to reward Nate for his effort because he keeps playing well. And let's not,
exactly
obviously,
right.
yeah, and obviously, there's integrity in selection. We can't be forced by extraneous things. But at the end of the day, he's a Victorian who obviously is very close to Josh and Jake and the boys at the club. But let's not, push him away. Let's get him in the team and keep him happy because he's a talent and he's playing good footy and he deserves to be in the team. So get him in there. And if it means it's at the expense of Miller, so be it, because you got to play players when they're in form.
Agreed.
I agree.
100%. I guess my concern with the coach is more about preparation, as I said earlier. I just feel like we didn't pay them enough respect with regards to what they were going to roll out, and we didn't really have a plan B. And as I mentioned, when we were forced to engage in a bit more switching and lane changing, it proved difficult for us. We weren't able to get good positions. We weren't able to provide options, and we weren't free-flowing out of defence. Now, other teams are going to look at that, and it's fairly obvious how we've been playing. There's no way you can't play the same style of play all year and expect teams to just continue to give you space down the line. It's just not going to happen. And particularly a coach like Clarkson, who's done it right in his time, the first thing he's going to do is shut that down and force you to go around, right, and try to stretch you out a bit. And that's exactly what they did, and they did it to really good effect. And like I said, a better team would have made more of their opportunities. So this is the part that concerns me about Matthew Nicks and the coaching panel. Do they have the chops to match it with the big boys, with the Damien Hardwicks, with the Alistair Clarksons of the competition that are experienced and have good resources, particularly Hardwick this year? If we start getting out-coached like this, is it going to be a case of the players getting blamed again? Or is it a situation where the board and Murray and Neil as footy director are going to actually recognise it for what it is? Because this is the part that has concerned me all along about our prospects for this season and beyond.
Well, what you're really saying, Fiend, is that we do have a game plan, which is when we're on and when the opposition aren't doing anything in particular to shut it down, they're backing their own game plan. You're saying that that's well and good if that happens, but the Clarksons of this world, who are really the real thinking coaches, they're not going to allow that to happen very, very likely, and they'll have their plans to actually try and counter that. And I think that they did have that. We were still good enough to win it, but that won't necessarily be the case when you're playing much, much better sides. Look, every club should have a plan B. And I mean, you should have your main style of play, but you should always have a plan B if plan A is being foiled or not working as well. I suppose one thing that the coach would counter back with, we were gradually pulling away from them, so it doesn't really matter. But it does matter in the long run because you're not always playing North Melbourne. You'll be playing against Brisbane or GWS.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, you're playing really good sides. So you do always have to have a plan B and even a plan C if you're really desperate. But if you just keep doing the same thing all the time, people will recognise that and they'll work out plans to counter it. So you're right, Fiend. That's the one thing I don't think we have a plan B at the moment. If it is, it hasn't been rolled out.
I don't necessarily think in terms of plan A and plan B as such, Macca. I think you should train for certain scenarios, and your on-field leaders should be able to recognise when circumstances require, a certain counter-attack or whatever, and certainly the blows up in the box. But if you haven't trained it, and it was evident, because the one thing that you need to do if you're going to get aggressive and change lanes and hit up the 45s, you've got to take the first option that comes to you, and you've got to do it quickly. And there were so many times we didn't pull the trigger on the first option, which allowed North then to crowd up again. And it really bothered me, because they're kicks that we would have taken a couple of years ago because we were playing that style of game. All of a sudden, we're not playing that style of game so much. And when it came time to pull the trigger on a quick little 45, they weren't taking it. They weren't taking those options, or they take it and muff the kick or whatever. And it just concerns me that as I said, they should have expected exactly what they got. It was, as David King likes to say, it shouldn't have been a surprise. They North Melbourne dished up exactly what been dishing up every week this season so far. So I don't want to harp on about it. We won the game. It was a good, solid win against a side that's improving and has some really good players. But the coaches on watch for mine at 3-0. I know that sounds like a silly thing to say, but I feel like this is the first time he's come up against a test, a team that's pretty healthy and has a very good coach. And I felt like the coaches were found wanting this week.
Big Man, what do you think?
I mean, we're definitely forced along the Cape a bit more than we probably would have liked to have been. And I mean, to be fair, some of the issues we did have were player error as well. There was a few kicks out of the full. Some of our long down the line kicks, I think we just couldn't get those bail-out contested marks much today. I mean, Tex took a couple, and obviously Thorthorpe got into the game in the second half, but we weren't as great in the air today as we've been in the last 2 weeks. And credit to the North defenders. I thought they actually defended all right, their tools today at times. So, it felt like at times we were hemmed in a bit by North and weren't able to get that free, slick, free-flowing movement that we've had in the past 2 weeks. But, as I said, I think part of that does come down to some skill errors of decision-making as well. There's a few times where we almost guaranteed goals and we somehow fluffed it up. The Phil Thorpe one where he should have had a set shot and instead he waited. And that's a good point you made, Finn. Like, he actually hesitated to pass to go to Keys in the goal square when if he had to go instantly or he doesn't go at all. And instead he sort of waited a couple of seconds and then did it, and it just obviously we didn't score from it. And there was a few moments like that where I'm just like, that was just the wrong decision at the wrong time. We got caught holding the ball a couple of times. If we just released a bit quicker, we may have got a shot on goal. And these things happen. At the end of the day, we still scored 114 points, so we must be doing something right. So we're creating enough chances.
They can paper over a lot of cracks, big man.
It can. And obviously, we're not playing Hawthorn or Brisbane at the moment. We're playing lesser teams. But as you said, North are pretty healthy. So that's one thing that definitely changed compared to the last 2 weeks, is that we played a team that's pretty much full strength, apart from, I want to say, Wardlaw and maybe one or two others. But, I think wait and see. I'll have to wait and see, because I think that we weren't able to play the brand we wanted to play, or at least we have played in the first 2 weeks today, and we still managed to get a 6-goal win out of it. Obviously, a much bigger test next week. See how we go then. I think, obviously, as the season goes on, we're going to get a better picture of what we're doing right and what we're doing wrong, because it's still so early in the season and things are so variable at the moment.
Yeah. And our style is all, sorry, Mac. Our style has all been about ball security up until now. We're in transition. We don't want to turn the ball over. We don't want to kick to contests. We want to carry the ball up the ground by foot, making space and providing options. And that's, in my mind, the main reason why we haven't been very adventurous on transition. Today we were forced to be adventurous. And, big man, you talked about skill errors, and that's all well and good, but I think skill errors occur when you're not well drilled enough, when you're forced to make decisions on the fly in unexpected circumstances. And, yes, of course, there were some terrible skill errors today, but there was also some indecision, in my opinion, and that's born out of a lack of training for specific circumstances. So anyway, I won't harp on it any longer. Mac, you were going to say something?
No, I was going to say that I just think today, and you've got to bear in mind we still did win the game, and as I say, we did still kick 116 points. But I just think at times we did take our foot off the pedal just a little bit. And I didn't think we were quite as intense as we've been in every game. Some players were, like Saligo was a very good example of an intense player. But I didn't. Yes, but I reckon there were and Hinge. Yeah, he was very good too. But I tell you, you were right about not going immediately at times. Sometimes we just hesitated when there was an obvious something to do, and there wasn't a lot of times, but enough to make a difference.
Yeah. Alrighty, Aaron Crow is in the house. Take yourself off mute, mate, and avail us of your wisdom.
Hello, guys. How are we today?
Aaron,
Thanks, buddy.
Did you like that? Avail us of your. Pretty.
Nah, I'm
worldly.
pretty dumb, so it doesn't make sense at all.
Doesn't it?
Uh,
I was channeling
just
my
one thing
inner
that I
Dalai
like.
Lama.
Aaron, we're supposed to say that, mate, not you.
Now, the thing is, I want to say that you guys haven't really mentioned, and it's such an important, I think it's more, it's better than our forward, is the amount of players that we have that are in the 20 and 1 club, the players that can get like 20 plus disposals and kick a goal. Like you've got Saligo now that can do it. You've got Rochelle that can do it. You've got Dawson that can do pretty much like our entire midfield can do it, and some of our backline could also do the same thing. And that's just like that power to have that kind of players is very rare for one team to have like 1 or 2, but for us to have like 5 or 6, that's just really like you know what I mean? That's just so good to see.
Well, I mean,
Yeah, what do you guys think of that?
I think that's part of that comes down to obviously the drafting we've done. It's interesting because the team we played today has gone about their drafting quite different to us. They've drafted through the midfield and packed through the midfield, and then if they, some don't quite make it into their best on ball grade, they probably shunt them over to flanks and pockets and everything as well. We've drafted particularly with talls, and also we've drafted heavily with forwards, and so it's no coincidence that we have so many options who can obviously score going forward, because you look at our high-end picks. We've got Rochelle, we've got Philthorpe, Fogarty, Curtin today, is playing as a forward at the moment. These are all high-end picks that we've got through the forward line that we've taken in the top 10 picks. So we've got guys who can obviously score forward, and then you add, as you said, those midfielders as well, in Dawson and Saligo. If your midfielders can chip in for a goal or two a game, it's absolute gold. So it's funny. Like obviously there's no perfect rebuild. I think everyone goes about it differently, but I feel like we've probably been better balanced than a North Melbourne in terms of getting goal kickers into our team. Because I mean, if you ask North supporters, they'd love to have half of the forwards that we've got on offer, and we just have so many options. Neil Bourne, Keys, these guys not only rack up ball, but they hit the scoreboard as well. So. We don't have a perfect list build at all. And we obviously stuffed up a couple of picks, but we've definitely recruited high-end talent that can kick goals forward to centre, and that's something a lot of teams just don't have, and that's definitely our strength.
The one that they missed, and not that he's going great guns at Sydney, but the one they missed was Logan McDonald. They took Will Phillips at that pick 3 that year, and poor old Will had glandular fever and got knocked out for 12 months basically, and hasn't really come back in the form that he showed in his under-18 year. I really rate Will, actually. I think he's a great player, but obviously he's had setbacks. But I could never understand why they didn't take Logan, irrespective of his current form. I think he would have been the perfect forward for Larky, to be honest. And you're right, big man. And I mentioned this in my preview video earlier today. I didn't feel like they had enough avenues to go, and that turned out to be the case. All
The other
right.
thing
Thanks,
is,
Aaron. Oh, one more. Go for
now
it,
I'm
mate.
discussing one more thing to you guys,
Sure.
real
Yeah.
quick. Just want to discuss you said that coaching and things like that. Our midfield coach needs to go, and that's been evident for 3 years. The biggest indicator of that is that he's only he's only developed one player from the draft to be a good midfielder. And that is such a big indicator to like how good a coach is their ability to develop players, I feel like. And just one from the draft, that's not that just shows that you're not up to the standards, I would say.
Do you want to go, Macca?
I was going to hand it over to Fiend, actually.
I've had enough to say about the coaches. You guys have a say.
Yeah, look,
Well, all right, I'll answer.
You go,
Look, it's you're partially right. You're partially right in the sense that I think we're okay now. I think that we're on the right track now, but I think that we did miss the boat there for probably going back before the last couple of years. I think we did miss the boat badly in terms of development of some of our players or giving them opportunity to play. Like Billy Dowling, I think, for example, is one that if he'd been given all the opportunities in the world early in the piece, he might well be playing now because he's certainly got ability. So I think you're partially right, but having said that, we've actually grabbed players from other clubs. I mean, Rankin was a huge get because, I mean, he can play midfield, he can play forward.
Well, that's the best way to develop, isn't it? Outsource it to other clubs.
Well, it works, and I thought Peatling's second half today was excellent.
Best he's played so far for us. Yep. 100%.
Yes. So, like, Fiend is right. The best way is to get them ready-made from another club. You're guaranteed because they're already there. But
That's
but yeah, it is.
We're doing the same with our ruckman, Tom DeCane. We're doing the same.
Yeah. Well, I'd love to get him. We won't get him though, Fiend.
Oh no,
he's so good.
No, look,
Get Draper's brother as the ruckman. He's like 201 centimeters tall.
that's not his.
I mean, not Draper's brother. I'm sorry, Curtin's brother from Cody Curtin. He's
done all right.
looking
He kicked about 7 or 8 goals in the bloody under 18s a week ago. Yeah.
Well, that's right. We'll have a pair of curtains then.
Look, it's a fine line, isn't it, between where is it about coaching and development, and where is it about just you've recruited the wrong or right players? Like do we credit a Van Berlo for Saligo, or a God in the past has obviously copped it for his handling of Chase Jones? Was Chase the right pick? Did we develop him wrongly, or did he just not have it in the first place? These are the hard ones to weigh up because sometimes you just don't know. And obviously a lot of it is on the mental side of it, how guys can acclimate to the AFL game plan, the AFL lifestyle, and the AFL intensity and everything that comes with it. Some guys just can't do it. They might have had the junior career to that looked like they're going to be a star, and for whatever reason, you mentioned Will Phillips before. He's a great example. He was a ball magnet in his junior year.
Yeah.
That year was hard in his draft because it was a COVID year, and if you look back at that draft, I mean, there's only about 4 or 5 players who have actually come on. Luckily, we got one of them in Filthy.
We got 2 didn't we?
Well, I mean, it was Filthy, Pedler, Berry, Cook, and Rose. So
that's right. Rash was the year
it's
after.
not. Yeah. Oh, yeah. Well, 2021 draft looks fantastic for us, actually.
Yeah.
So it's hard to know sometimes. We actually haven't really drafted many midfielders ourselves. So as much as you want to say, our midfield coach is responsible, for us having a poor midfield in the last few years. To be fair, I mean, it's hard to gauge, but we actually haven't drafted many midfielders with early picks, and that's obviously been a criticism that we haven't done that because how many years were we saying, can we draft an A-grade midfielder instead of a key defender or the like? So Sid was obviously one of our first that we did last year. Curtin may still become a midfielder. We don't know. That's a wait and see. Chase Jones before that obviously hasn't turned out the way we wanted it to. So, look, I definitely agree. There's definitely criticism to be had for VB, and I think today showed again that we didn't get things quite right in the midfield. I thought their North centre bounce work was better than ours at times throughout the game. And to be fair, that's where that's all their chips have gone in that basket. That's where they've gone hard in the draft and recruiting is in their midfield. So that was always going to be a bit of a challenge for us. But I think the wheel's turning a little bit. Obviously, we've got Sid in there. Peatling looks like he's going to be a pretty good acquisition, even if he's had a bit of an okay start. He was much better today. I thought you're right, that last quarter, his first 5 minutes of that last quarter, I think he had 2 goal assists and he just looked really good. Jake's come on. He's been awesome for us, given what we paid for him. And obviously Dawson's transitioned to the midfield and Rankin now as well. So a lot of it has come from the outside, but I think there's enough talent in there now to match it with most of the midfielders in the comp.
Yep.
Yeah, it's just positioning now.
All right, Arab. Thank you for those
thank you.
thought-provoking words. You've enriched our lives accordingly.
Thank you. See ya.
Hey, mate.
Yeah. I'm just trying to be a bit more zen with our audience.
Oh, yeah, Finn.
All right. Okay, well, probably enough said about that. Look, let's round off by saying it was an excellent win, because it really was. It was a good win. It was a danger game. We all felt a little bit panicky about it today. We got away with the chocolates and a pretty decent margin. We're sitting second on the ladder, which some would say is probably reasonable, considering we've played St Kilda, Essendon and North in our first 3 games. Obviously a massive test coming up next week, and we'll talk about that at the end of the cast. But you can only win the games that are against the teams that put in front of you, right, Mac?
Yeah, 100%. And also, and with the players you've got, I mean, Murray out, I think, was a huge loss today.
That hurt us.
And that showed up in 2 ways, because Borlase is no Murray. And on top of that, Keane probably relies on Murray a bit to cover up some of his own deficiency. So the loss of Murray was huge. And I think Keane's got to lift his game on what he did today. He was too happy to be just behind Larky all the time. I thought he didn't have a good game either. So I think just that that one loss of that one player down back in Murray affected 2 positions on the ground, which was reasonably costly in terms of goals. So the question was, why not Butts instead of Ball? It might have been better to have, Butts at full back and Keane over into the pocket. But
George is not good, Nick, at the moment. And I thought, if you're going to make a choice between Keane and Jordan Butts, you're going to pick Keane. And then Borlase was the right choice for Jack Darling. They're similar builds. James has got a reasonably good defensive mindset, and I thought he did right, actually, James Borlase.
Okay, but no, fair enough. But I was just very disappointed in Keane. Look, I've been a Keane fan last year. I was very much in favour of him. I thought he was
but now
a
you're
great
not
get.
so keen.
Yeah. Well,
Not so keen now.
I'll go along with your pun. I'll say, put it this way, if there's a horse, I'm off him at the moment. So,
Yeah.
I'm just not happy with him at the minute. So he's got to really lift his game. That wasn't really good enough today.
To be fair to Keane, I think maybe that hip issue he incurred in the Brisbane preseason game is maybe it's affected him more than we had thought. But also, you're right. We've sort of taken the bad because there's been plenty of good with his intercept marking and his ball use. He takes risks, but they mostly pay off. And his defending hasn't always been the greatest part of his game. So he likes to play back shoulder. He doesn't like to play in front because his positioning isn't that great. And he seems to prefer to give little nudges under the ball and take the intercept mark. But he's not even taking those at the moment. He's not even going for his marks. He seems to be a bit low on confidence. So at the moment, we sort of have a guy that's not really doing much of anything. So that's a bit of an issue. And because we've got Borlase back there, who's also very defensively minded, it's really wild. That's probably been the best of the three. That at least today was the best of the three tools back there. So I have concerns because we've got not Max King, Ben King coming up next week, so that'll be fun. And we've got Jeremy Cameron the week after. So, and I think Muzz won't be back for that game either. It sounds like he might be touch and go for the Geelong game. So it's definitely an issue. And I know we'll talk about the game soon, but King's been in great form, so that looms as a real issue for us. So, team defense is going to be really important because he could really expose us without Muzz down back.
Very good point.
Let us move on, and you boys can have a little rest while I do a little bit of housekeeping, because we need to do some housekeeping, Macca.
Mm-hmm.
First of all, thank you. I must say that after our pleas and tearful cries last week about being 6 or 7 short of 1,000 subs, we're now up to 1,023. So thank you to everyone during the week who subscribed to the channel, and thank you to all our new subscribers this year. We've had a massive amount of support on the channel, so stick with us. The new content is still sort of getting ironed out. I keep getting a bit time crunched on it, so my apologies are a bit late this week. They need to be out a little bit earlier, but I'm getting my routine sorted with that one, so keep your eye out for those. Now, we should have a look at the tipping comp. I didn't do too badly this week, Macca. By the way, who went out of bloody West Coast and Freo?
Freo won by about a fair bit, 8 goals or so.
Freo won, yeah. Oh, that stuffed me up. I tipped a bit of a boil over, but that, of course, that didn't happen. So we still have Medicro now clear in front on 21 points. 4 or 5 of you on 20. A lot of you on 19. But the big story is back down at 16, which is where the real action's happening. Unfortunately, not very good action tipping-wise. So very even tipping comp, and don't forget there is prizes for first, second, and third this year. So that's all very good. Speaking of prizes, we have to give away our first T-shirt comp for the year. We ended up having, how many did we have? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 entrants. So I'm going to spin the wheel. You're all on there, and may the best person win a T-shirt. Give us some music. Do. Where's Brownie when you need him to sing? And we need a re-roll. NT Rabbit wins the T-shirt. I'm going to make one up especially with Matty Crouch's face on it.
Way to go.
And love hearts all over it. Oh, mate. All right. Well done, Rabbit. You're the inaugural, or this year's first winner of the monthly T-shirt comp. I'll be in touch with you on DMs in Discord, and we'll work out a size and a colour and a which particular Matt Crouch picture you want me to put on there, and we'll get that sorted out to you. Thanks everyone who entered that competition. We will be having another one soon, and also another monthly giveaway soon, as soon as I can squeeze a couple more tickets out of the club.
Now, Fleet, I was going to say one thing about body tipping. I'm not in this body tipping.
No,
but
you're not.
But I'm in a couple of others, and I'm an average to medium type of tipper. But I actually tipped 9 on the weekend. That's my first 9 for a bloody long time.
Well,
There's only 8 games.
You're telling
eight. I got 8. I got every team right this week.
You're telling us as if we care. Like, nobody cares, Mika. We only care about our competition. The fact that you got in it is quite frankly disgraceful. And I don't want to talk anymore about it. I don't care if you got 15 out of 6 or 8 or whatever it was.
There are people that care. There's one. That's me.
I don't care.
I know you don't. That's why I told
Oh,
you.
well done, Macca. Good stuff. I mean, you're only sitting at home a week looking at bloody football, so you should get 9 out of 8, for God's sake.
That was 8 out of 8, sorry. But no, look, I always usually stuff up somewhere. But I went through them, and I went through a few underdogs and that got up, and I was pretty pleased.
Yeah, whatever. Who
Whatever.
cares? Who
Nobody.
cares? How are you going in your fantasy comp?
Well, not so good this year.
No, we don't care about that either. Here we go. Macca's weekend results. You feeling persecuted, Macca?
No, I'm fine. I'm used to it.
I'm not trying hard enough then.
No, you'll have to get a bit stronger.
Oh God! All right, come on. Let's have a look at your results, mate. Have you got them there, or do you need me to read them out?
What's that? Oh, the other team.
Oh,
Yeah, I'll do that pretty quickly,
Thursday
mate.
Thursday night, Essendon 9-18-72 defeated Port Adelaide 8-12-60. Mac.
Yeah, look, I thought this would play with a lot more intensity against Port than they did against
Friday
Upper.
night we had Western Bulldogs 12-11. Sorry, go on.
Yeah, and no, I thought that Port were pretty poor actually in the end. That they the young boys in like Burgoyne and etc. and a guy called Murray playing his first, second game, they went all right, but gee, they've got a lot of blokes that don't give 100%. Either that or they've got a pretty poor team. Yeah, not good.
Ain't you reckon, Baker? Big man, they're stick a fork in them. Done and done.
Oh, look, I just know they're going to bloody back it up next. They're going to respond next week against St Kilda, and then they'll be all right again. And then it's just back and forth. We'll wait and see.
Shit.
I mean, they're a funny team. Treadray was pretty defensive about them, but he was saying how they got a better forward line this year and everything. But the same problems still remain, is that they got some flaky players who just don't lift when the intensity.
Forward line.
That's genuinely what he said.
Option and he can't bloody one grab the ball.
Yeah. Look, honestly, I think he was reaching for. He was also talking about how many injuries they have, but then he was talking about how many injuries they have, but then would always say, "Oh, it's no excuse. It's no excuse." But then he kept talking about how many injuries they had. So, yeah. So look, I still think they'll be okay this year, but they're probably not a threat, which they've been in the past few years.
I think they're a laughing stock. They're a laughing stock, and you watch when the next 12 months the tarts will be out again. Those bandwagons will drop off so quickly. And as Peter J wrote a very nice tweet the other day. Let me just see if I can find it real quickly. Where are you, Peter? He does come up with some nice little pearls on Twitter. What did he say? It's been a heavy storm for 5 years, but the clouds are clearing. Special thanks to Richmond 2020, Bulldogs 2021, GWS 2023, and Sydney 2024. Some brave rescue missions that held the line when we couldn't. We'll take it from here. Well done, Peter J. That's an excellent tweet, and 100% correct. Those teams did us a favour to keep Port away from the grand final, and we'll take over now. We got this now. All right, anyway, so this 5-minute play match report. Western Bulldogs 12-11-83 beat Carlton 11-9-75. Vossi's clackers just starting to squeeze up a little bit, I reckon. Well,
I'm always saying that Carlton, they thump their chest and talk about how good they are. They jumped to a 3-goal lead at the half time, but Liberatore, I thought he was outstanding. I mean, they haven't got Bontempelli and a couple of other blokes that are out injured and etc. But Liberatore, he was really, really good, and he led them in the second half. That they eventually won by 8 points. And I'll tell you what, the Dogs, like, they picked up a bloke called Davidson with pick 51.
The doctor.
And he had 31 disposals. That's a great pick. That's an outstanding pick.
Not bad at all.
So, that's that game.
All right, very good. What am I doing? I swear to God, my preparation has been less than satisfactory.
Next we had We had Gold Coast next, mate, and they came to Melbourne.
Yeah, I
and
know.
they
I got the score half right. Melbourne 8-14-62, and then I messed up the Gold Coast score. They actually scored 18-12-120, not 9-14-68, which is the team from last week that didn't write out. So, yeah, the Suns convincing in Melbourne.
Oh, they were.
Convincing.
They were. They absolutely kicked Melbourne's ass, and
They did.
55 points. That's a hiding when you consider. They got players like well, Gorman was certainly not at his best, but Petrarca he didn't do much. Their name players aren't really performing at all. And if I was a coach, I'd be starting to get a little bit nervous because they're definitely not going to go anywhere this year. Definitely.
Well, the whole club seems to be a rebel. It seems to have fallen apart. It's quite amazing.
Yep.
I mean, I know we had some post. What have I done here? Sorry, people. I'm an absolute basket case today. My apologies. I know that we had some issues after our grand final appearance in 2017, but my goodness me, Melbourne have actually just dropped just about as far as what we did. Terrible.
Yep.
All right. St Kilda had a good win against Richmond, 2015, 135 to 7-11-53.
Yeah, not much to see here. Fairly even first half, and then 14 goals to 2 in the second half. That's about it.
Yeah. Hawthorn got up gallantly over the Giants down in Tassie, 10-16, 76 to 9-10-64. It was a good match, that one.
It was a good match. GWS got away with a great start. They had a breeze, and they got a 6-goal up, and I thought this is going to be a GWS victory, but the Hawks they've got well, on paper today, and they're not big names, but they've got talent all around the ground that work their backsides off. And look, he's a damn good coach. He's got the players in the right position, playing the right type of game, and they all really work. And they outworked GWS, and they eventually got up to win the game. And I make it sound like they're not talented, but they are talented, but they're not really big names. They're just guys that really work hard. Yeah.
They will be big names. You're getting roasted in the chat, by the way, Macca.
I don't care.
Lions had a strong win against the Cats, 10-10-70 to 9-7-61. Lions are still only in 2.5 gears, I reckon. Look, I reckon it was a forgettable game to watch. Really. Very slippery conditions. Wasn't really a great spectacle. Geelong got ahead early, but Brisbane gradually wore them down with 7 goals to 2 in the second half. And yes.
Look, the Lions are going to be one of the sides again, vying for the premiership. So I don't think Geelong are going to be good, but not good enough to win the flag. I don't think.
All right, and what did we say the last game was?
I don't know much about it, but the Dockers won. Yeah, Dockers won.
Dockers by 38, 106 to 68. So happy days.
That's it.
Happy days. Now we've got to do the ladder, don't we? Bloody hell. One moment, please. Let's go do that thing again. All right, so the ladder. We've still got a few buys and things happening, so it's not 100% clear yet, but we've got Hawthorn on top with 16 points. Adelaide and Brisbane also undefeated on 12 points. Gold Coast on 8. GWS on 8. Gold Coast obviously only played 2 games, so they're in good position. Collingwood with 8 points from 3. St Kilda with 8 from 3. Western Bulldogs with 8 from 3. And then we have Geelong out of the 8 with North, Sydney, Port, Freo now got 8 too. Essendon and Richmond all on 4 points. Carlton yet to score along with Melbourne and West Coast. And I thought West Coast might be a little bit better today, but they're still looking shit.
They're not there.
Never mind. All right. Now our lines are still open, people. The Sammy's bloody fish tray that Macca won during the week is up for grabs for the best.
No, it's not. No, it's not.
God, you jumped on that one pretty quick.
Yeah, I did.
It's like I'm taking food off your table or something.
Well, I did pick up $100 voucher during the week. Thank you, 5AA.
Yeah, I know you did. If they knew that you bloody sit there and come up with all your bloody your calls and you have like a big folder, a big scrapbook full of stuff to talk about.
Well, I've got the time feed.
Do you put on a different voice every time, or surely they don't know it? Do they say, "Oh, it's bloody Bill again. Here you go, have a voucher."
They do know who I am.
It's Bill on the phone. Give him a voucher and shut him up. They don't actually let you talk anymore, do they? They just give you a voucher.
They do let me talk.
You just ring up and you get to the bloody front desk girl, and she don't even put you through anymore. She just says, "What's your voucher?"
No, actually, I avoided the sports show because I only had $50 vouchers, but I had a $100 voucher in the afternoon. So I had a crack at that and got it.
So you won't call in unless they put up a decent voucher.
That's going to be 100.
You're a dumbass.
Unashamedly.
Well, you could win it twice and 250s make 100 anyway.
Yeah, but that's hard. This is only one call.
You got a whole folder full of the shit. You could start talking about things that you brought up 3 years ago. They wouldn't remember it. You just go back to the start of the folder and start again.
Look, they know who I am. I don't even have to say who I am when I go.
All right, enough of this. Okay, so next week we've got the Suns. Probably, or without question, our toughest test so far this year. They're going well. They're not easy to beat up north, and it'll be sticky. And what day do we? When's that game actually? Let's have a look. It is on Saturday in the middle of the bloody day. Why do they play games up in the tropics in the middle of the bloody day?
That is outstandingly stupid, isn't it?
The only positive.
They've got North and Sydney playing at Marvel on the Saturday night. There's going to be about 6 people watch that. And
the only positive
the Suns
is that
and the Crows are going to play in the bloody tropical heat.
Yeah, the only positive is you don't get the humidity, like the dewy ball at the night time. So that's, I guess, the quality will be better, but obviously I think it's going to be early, like low 20s at this stage, so it should be too hot, which is good.
Yeah, but 6 cyclones, some floods coming in from the bloody highlands, and a few crocodiles on the pitch. Are we even playing? No, aren't they building a new stadium? Are we even playing at the? We're playing at the new one yet, or they haven't built that yet?
No, they haven't built it yet. No, that's for the
get a wriggle on. The bloody Olympics is 8 years away.
It'll take them that long.
Yeah, so anyway, we got the Suns in the middle of the day on Saturday next week, and bookies don't like us. And quite frankly, what we've dished up this week, I don't like us either. Max?
Look, I think we can win the game. No, I do think we can win the game, but it's going to really revolve around the midfield, and their midfield is in form, and I think our midfield is in form. So it's look, if one of them can dominate, then I think we're talking about they've got King up forward, and he is in good form, and he's a big danger, all right. But we've got a lot of forwards, very good forwards as well. So I think we've got more forward options than virtually any other team in the comp. But so it's going to really, really be, I think it revolves around the midfield then, because that'll work out the number of entries and the way it comes in. It's going to be so important as well. So I think we can win it. Will we win it? I can't guarantee that or say that we will, but I think it's a 50-50 game, dead set 50-50.
If you rang up 5AA and gave them that cliche-ridden generic analysis, Macca.
Oh no, I'd work on that.
Would they give you $100?
No, not for that. I'd be. What you do is you have to. What you have to do. I'll give it to the listeners out there. What you have to do. You have to listen to what Roey's thinking. If it's a controversial issue, and then Roey's got a point of view. So you ring up and you sort of build around something, and then you throw in Roey's.
Why can't you do that with me? We get along so much better if you do the same thing on the podcast.
Roey's a rational thought, and then you win a voucher.
Oh, big man, straighten us up, mate. What do you think?
I'll try, mate. Yeah, look, it's I hate being the pessimist here, but this is going to be a hard one to do, and you can't win them all, and maybe a loss isn't the worst thing. Just to get things back to basics a bit and not get ahead of ourselves. These guys used to be pretty easy beats for us. We used to have a great record against them. It was we were undefeated against them for so long, and that's changed a bit obviously in the last few years. So they've been a good team. Sorry, they've been a hard team to play up there, and now they're starting to win away as well. So their midfield is going gangbusters. Obviously, Matty Rouse came out really well this year. Noah Anderson, we know, is quality. Bailey Humphrey played well on the weekend as well, playing a bit of midfield time. So, look, I'd love to say, we're a real chance. And look, I think we're always a chance because of the way with the football we're playing, and obviously the fact we could win on the weekend last week against Essendon, that was obviously not nearly as good a team as the Suns are going to be. But that's good, to get that confidence of winning on the road. I think that's going to be important for us. But this might be a stretch too far. If we win it, then pants down, laps around the table, I reckon. But yeah, I think that this is one of those games that a lot of teams and good teams are going to struggle with this year, including even the best guys like a Hawthorn or not so much a Brisbane, because obviously that's up there anyway. But I think Hawthorn, Geelong, etc., the Giants, they're going to struggle up there as well this year. So if we win it, fantastic. But if I think we're more likely to lose it, might not be the worst thing, and hopefully we can get our act together for the gather round, which I think is going to be a really important game for us.
So everyone tune in next week for Big Man. Well, I mean, it's not fair. Your camera's not on, so you can go pants down around the table. We won't see it anyway. The Gold Coast probably the best contested team in the comp right now. They're plus 30 against all comers so far for contested position. And the only way we win this game is if we get enough of the ball on the outside, Mac, in my opinion. If we can control the ball a little bit and get the ball on the outside and get our kicking game going, I think we are a chance to kick enough goals. But if it's an inside slogfest, then we will get big man's pants pulled down, and not in a nice way. That's my view. Now, whether we've got the cattle to do it, I'm not quite sure. But to me, that's just on an early look. It all comes down to whether Gold Coast will allow us, or we will force Gold Coast to allow us to play our style of footy.
Well, I think we'll be forced, if we're going to try and play our game of footy, we're going to have to work very, very hard, a lot harder than we did this week, because they've got a mighty midfield. They have got a mighty midfield. I mean, Anderson's flying at the moment, and Rao is flying at the moment, and young Humphreys, I thought he had an off year last year, but this year he's starting to show the potential that he has, and they've got Flanders as well, who's a very good, very good player. But having said that, we've got a lot of good players as well. So I think a lot of it will come down to who's if one side gets a lot more attacked than the other, and if it's us, I think we can win the game because we've got the forwards to do it. And if they get a lot more of the ball than us going forward, well, then I think we're in trouble, because I don't think without Murray being that solid factor right on the last line, I think King could have a picnic. So, look, I'm still going to see it. I reckon that we will actually probably change our game style slightly, and I think that we'll. I think we will just slightly at the centre bounces, and I think we're capable of winning the game. I can't guarantee that we will win the game, because I think if you were talking from a Gold Coast point of view, you'd be looking at us and say, "Gee, they've got a lot of people who get the ball forward. They've got a lot of people up forward who score goals. So they'd be thinking the same about us, Feen. So really, it's just going to boil down to on the day who gets the first bite of the cherry and then makes good usage of it. And if we played what we did today, where we wasted a lot of the ball, we would get beaten. But I think that I think we can improve on that. And if we do that, I think we can win it. And some call me optimistic, but I do think we can win it. And I think overall, our team is better. Overall, if you go the whole 18 on the oval or the whole 22, I think our whole 22 is better. So on that basis, I'm going for a win, but not by a very big margin. I only think about 11 points.
What do you think, Large Heat?
Ben? Ben, I was going to ask you.
That threw you, didn't it?
I was going to ask you. I got 2 questions for you, Finn. 2 quick questions.
All right. Yeah.
Number 1, does Sid play a full game? And 2, does Tex travel up?
I would have played. Is your name Fiend? Go back to your counting your bloody fish vouchers for a second. I would have given Draper a full game this week, to be honest. So I was quite happy. And we haven't spoken about Joshua Shelley either. I don't know. I haven't seen any press about his injury. Looked like a kidney or something.
No, it's
They said ribs.
Ribs.
Rib.
Yeah. So he's apparently he's been given the all clear scans, but he's obviously gonna be pretty sore. So it's pretty hard to play 6 days later.
Yeah, I don't expect him to come up. So that's one change we're going to have to make. I would elevate Sid, and whoever comes in for Rash, I would have them start a sub. I wouldn't travel Tex. He was hot and cold today. I know he kicked 4, and some of his work was excellent, but some of his work was average. And I think we leave Tex at home to look after the kids for the weekend. That's my answer.
Worth noting because it's a 5-day break from this game. So we've got a 6-day break to the Gold Coast game, and then a 5-day break to the Thursday night gather round opener against Geelong. So this is where those sort of messages about resting Tex and managing him, that it gets tested here, because obviously we're against tough opposition, and do the coaches have it in them to say, you know what, Tex, you're staying home, because even though we obviously want to get the win. So it'll be interesting to see what they do, but surely he doesn't travel up because of the short break and obviously the flight and everything.
I'd be disappointed if he did. Look, Mac, I agree with you. Like I said, I think we need to get enough ball on the outside to give ourselves enough supply to kick enough goals. And I am going to go against the grain and say that we can do it. So I'll pick us by 3 goals.
Well, I went by, I would say 9 points, I think I said. Or 11 points or something like that.
Big man, you're not so optimistic?
I'm going to... No, well, look, I'm not writing it off, but because, obviously, if we're not out of this contest by any means.
Don't
Gold Coast
don't backpedal. Just make your statement and bloody stick to it.
Gold Coast are in good form. I don't think they're absolute challengers this year, so we should be a chance. But I'm gonna back Gold Coast. I think they'll probably get it done by 2 or 3 goals. But I think we'll be competitive, which is obviously pretty important. So, yep.
Stay tuned next week when Macca and Phoenix will be back with the rap. Unfortunately, Big Man won't be able to join us anymore.
It's not Geelong and Geelong, but I still think this is a really tough matchup. And
it's a tough.
And they don't have many injuries as well. I know Charlie Ballard did an ACL last week, but apart from that, they're very healthy. So we've got our work cut out for us. As I said, if we win, lids off. But if not, I'm not going to be too upset as long as we're competitive. Because I think we've got other games that, obviously much more important coming up that we have to win at Adelaide Oval.
I reckon this is a character game, Macca. It's a character game. It's one where
it is.
Everyone's like, oh, they've been on a bit of a tear. This is a tough one. They got a couple of niggles. It's not going to matter terribly if they lose pig's ass. This is a character one. We come home with this one. It sets our season up, in my opinion.
I think it does. I think it's a crucial game in deciding whether we're going to be a team that challenges for the fifth to eighth position, or a team that is a genuine challenger. To get a little bit higher than that and maybe even further. So it's going to sort of, in some ways, at this stage, define what we appear to be. And I just look. I think apart from the fact that I wish we did have Murray. And that's why the real niggle I've got about the game. If we had Murray, I'd feel a lot more optimistic. But
next man up, Macca. Good team.
I know.
Don't let that bother them. Next man up.
You're quite right, and you have to take that attitude. Otherwise, you will never win a game if you take the attitude that we don't have Murray, so we can't win. No, you're right, and I think if our work rate's there, we can win it. But if we don't, well, they have the players to run all over us because they've got a very good midfield. And another thing I've got to make the point is that Rob, I thought, did pretty well today, but he always has trouble with widths, isn't it?
Yeah, he's too tall for him.
Yeah, he just gets that tall hand over the top of Rob, and that's going to be a problem. So we've got to work on losing the ruck, and that's how we've got to man up in the midfield. Because if we get man up in the situation that we think we're going to attack from the centre, we're going to get a big surprise because we'll be chasing backside all day. So
coaching spotlight, Macca. We'll see. You reckon they'll tweak the midfield? I don't reckon they'll touch it. They're too.
They need to. They need to.
Well, you and I both know that, but they won't touch it. They'll go in and they'll work harder for longer. That's what it's like. Anyway, look, let's not finish on a negative.
Actually, we'll finish on a positive. Sorry, Fiend. Rochelle out. Next man in. Does Murphy play?
Go and shoot. Look, I'm going to shoot you.
Don't roll it out. Don't roll it out.
Big man.
We're going to have a jar. It's like a swear jar, but it's a Murphy jar. And every time you mention his name or mention him, and nothing against you, Lockie. I know you listen every week. But yeah, and every time you offer up Lockie for selection, you got to put $2 in the jar. I'd say it'd probably be who'd come in for Rash.
Well, I suggested that maybe Draper plays mainly half forward, obviously swapping a bit with Rankin in the guts. Maybe you could even move Miller onto the sub and play Nank in Miller's position. I think that's potentially a way you could look at it.
Possible.
But obviously it depends what we do with Tex as well.
Well, I think if they don't play Tex, we'll see Kurt and Fogarty, Thilthorpe as the top three. In which case, I think there's a spot for Dowling. And you're right. Maybe I reckon Dowling might come in for Texan, playing sort of up around the mid, sort of a little bit. And you're right. I reckon Nank might come in for Rash, and they might fill around with Miller's spot. You're right. That's probably what I'd do.
Yep.
Very good. All right. Well, look, it's been a lively cast this evening, and thanks to everyone who's been in the studio audience. Thanks to Arab for coming on and just allowing us to immerse ourselves in his wisdom and his insight. Thank you, dear Arab, for your patronage. And thanks to everyone who's joined us on YouTube as well. We've had a great viewership once again. I think up around the 120, 130 viewers on YouTube, which has been fantastic. So we really appreciate all that help. Big man, we'll see you next week.
Absolutely. Hopefully after a win, but we'll see.
Matt, we'll see you down at Sammy's. It's a voucher for 2, isn't it?
No, actually, it's not. I'm not saying what it is.
You're a tyrant bastard. All right, on that note, thanks everyone for joining us. Have a good week, and we'll see you next weekend for the Weekend Wrap. Good night.
Yeah, good night.
Thanks, guys.